Yeah, Ancient Mahara here. Another comment response. Oh, I forgot to take the glasses off because, yes, the light reflects on them. And then I can't read what I'm reading. So, over here, comment on the video that I did, BPD breakup, can codependents get the, quote, great feelings, unquote, BPD idealization back. I have some other videos out there too. Maybe I'll put a couple on the end screen about BPD and idealization and how you don't really get re-idealized by a person with BPD and the on-off cycles or recycling cycles. So this commenter asks, is the idealization phase connected to an infantile need for people who did not have parents who adored them to substitute this adoration all babies are entitled to? The reason I kind of smiled there for a minute was because why on earth are people, I mean, so yeah, fair question and nothing against the commenter, right? No disrespect intended, but it's like, how much do people really need to keep shoveling the dirt of like trying to understand the borderline to this point? Like, anyway, just before I give my response, I wanted to let you know that I will have there's a couple different ways I think I can say things more right now than I have in the past about what really is BPD idealization, how it's really talked about being, how it's really talked about versus cutting to the chase of how it really isn't what it feels like, what it seems like, and the too good to be true, the siren song of like, wow, you just met this person, everything's so intense and moves so quickly. So there's that. Sorry, some bug. I think it's the same one actually. I tried to kill it. What can I say? It's quicker than I am. You know what I mean? I can't fly. That should be obvious. Anyway, so I'm going to have a lot more coming on BPD idealization. And I think some of it, I don't know if it's talked about out there, right? Because I don't see everything on the internet. But I think I might have a bit of a unique, more in-depth, and hopefully a more understandable way of talking about this. It just might help you a little bit more to let go. And again, people really do need to be in a process of healing recovery, working with someone like myself who's an expert in this area. And of course, I'm out here to help you and to work with you if you resonate with me. So to the answer to this question, which I'm sorry I'm smiling at, but so is the idealization phase connected to an infantile need for people who did not have parents who adored them? Well, no, because the flaw here in the question, the misnomer or the just inaccurate information, is that what children do need in early infancy and beyond is that they need to be seen. And they need effective attunement, effective attuned mirroring, not affect synchrony, as I'm always mentioning Dr. Alan M. Short talks about, which I will do maybe a video on that soon too. So I'm always mentioning it. But so it's not that the idealization is connected to infantile need for people who did. There's an infantile need component, but it's not about because their parents didn't adore them. Because the truth of the matter is, for people who got adored by a parent, but also maybe not treated well or a lot of adverse experience, that's what creates narcissists. So it's not healthy to have parents adoring. Maybe I'm being, but the word is pretty specific as to its meaning. So more to the point, infants need to be held, to be soothed, to be comforted, and young children, like, toddlers. And they need emotional safety, and they need to be seen and focused on and nurtured. But none of that really is the definition of adoration. Adoration of a child can be as devastatingly wounding and be the case for some people with narcissistic personality disorder, of how they really basically ended up with narcissistic personality disorder. So the word adoration is kind of like a flaw in the question here. So to substitute this adoration, all babies are entitled to. No, people with BPD, like, again, it's not about being adored, because adoration isn't even healthy love and nurture. You know, like a parent might think their baby in a good family, in a portending for a very healthy, secure attachment, might really think the world of their infant. And of course, the infant needs especially mother, but father too later. But in the beginning, mother's faces the world. So children, infants and toddlers need, and beyond, need to be loved and nurtured, emotionally safe, experiencing attunement and consistency in a bonding process. So again, not adored. So idealization phase would be, well, yeah, I'm going to have more comment on this, somewhat connected to the infantile need that they, for emotional safety, for nurture, for attunement, for healthier bonding that people with BPD generally don't get. And so with that interrupted, and with the splitting that occurs really basically in infancy when things are going really wrong and adverse experiences there, it's like good mom can come into the room and change their diapers and feed them and maybe notice them or something. But bad mom comes in when bad mom isn't like thrilled to see them. It's that attunement again. And maybe bad mom in that sense of being, you know, that splitting from infancy forward. Bad mom might be just a mom who's like really had a severe loss in her life recently, or is really depressed, or but to the infant, anything that doesn't mirror back to the infant emotional safety, security, nurture, soothing, comfort, when it gets to be fairly extreme, as it does for a lot of people who go on to be diagnosed with BPD, then that's bad mother. That's bad object already. Splitting takes place often in infancy, but it's not anything that an infant knows, but it's the setting aside outside of self, the anger or the angry face or the lack of attunement, the affect synchrony that a child doesn't know what to do with or process. But, you know, we're kind of wired when we're born to connect to this space and to be nurtured and to be loved and to have that mirrored back to us. Because at that point in time in infancy, mother's face is the world. And there is no separation between mother and infant at that point. Separation, individuation takes place later throughout the second year of life, probably around to about the age of 3. But people with BPD will have arrested emotional development before that and not get through separation, individuation. Therefore, they have emotional arrested development, loss of self, and they don't have any reference between the difference between self and other. So the idealization phase does go back to these infantile needs that were not met, not adoration. And so is it that people with BPD are substituting that lack of attunement or emotional safety or consistent, reasonable parenting and nurture? Are they substituting that all babies are entitled to in the idealization phase? Well, no, it's not a substitution either, because this is like an unconscious repetition compulsion of trying to find in another, in the idealization phase, identity. Mother never had, mother never connected to. Even if you're a man, this can happen, right? For somebody with BPD, that they will be experiencing you in an unconscious repetition compulsion way as the wounding parent. And so in idealization, and I'm going to have more on this coming soon, I've got a lot of the, I don't always take notes. I hardly ever use notes, but I've got some notes written, and sometimes I use them, and sometimes I just kind of like read them and then do videos. But so I'll have more coming on this, but idealization has something to do with, in the idealization phase, something to do with the infantile unmet needs. Definitely. But it's more, I'm just going to give you a hint of what I have coming, that idealization, as it's often described, is not really accurate, actually. Because the idealization phase, pardon me, is people with BPD unconsciously starting to seek identity through you. And so you're being experienced as that object other parent, maybe in idealization parent never had, or good parent that they probably didn't have. And so idealization is really more for the person with BPD and what's going on there than it is to do with what people usually with codependency experience and believe it to be. And so I'm going to tie that together and explain that in another video. But so adoration is not something that an infant needs. A lot of love, a lot of attunement, a lot of emotional safety. People with BPD, when they starting to date in a relationship with somebody, they will be moving way too quickly. They will be way too intense. Toby, come on. Way too intense, etc. And that idealization phase is more of a fantasy than it is what people with codependency believe that it was. And so I hope that answers the question somewhat, gives a little tease of what's to come, because there's so much that is talked about in so many ways about this, but I don't know if anybody's talking about what I really want to bring to your attention about BPD and idealization and the idealization phase. Because it's not something that's actually given the way it seems it's given to the person that is receiving it, because it's really aimed at you as object other, maybe good parent never had, from a person with BPD. So nothing to do with adoration, but yes, some still seeking of reparation and identity in unconscious repetition compulsion cycles in the, quote, idealization phase by people with BPD. So there is that infantile, how did the commenter put it? Oh, yes, of course. There is that infantile need in there that's being projected out. Gets into projective identification. Gets into a lot. So I will have more coming on that soon. And I hope that was helpful. And as always, if anybody is wanting to do some work on healing codependency, getting over the BPD relationship breakup or an NPD relationship breakup, and or you discover that you have a parent that is a cluster B, which isn't the case for all with codependency, please know that if you resonate with me, I'm out here to work with you. So hopefully that helped a little or gave you food for thought. Take care.